Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang namasami, dhammang namasami, sanghang namasami. Today is first live reading the common Buddhist text, guidance, and insight from the Gautama Buddha, printed by Chulalongkorn University Press, 2017. I'm going to dive in chapter 1 on the concept of birth and early life. Here, the Buddha addresses Ananda, the disciple who has acted as his chief personal attendant and is to wondrous birth of a great being. Gautama Buddha was previously told him of various wonderful things pertaining to his conception and birth, and now asks him to enunciate them so that other monks can hear of and be inspired by them. The Blessed One addressed Venerable Ananda. Ananda, that being so, you may utilize more fully and wonderfully the marvelous qualities of the Tathagata. Venerable Sir, I heard and learned this from the Blessed One's own lip. Ananda, mindful and clearly comprehending. The Bodhisattva appeared in the Tusika heaven. Venerable Sir, this I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, for the whole of his lifespan, the Bodhisattva remained in the Dusita heaven. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, mindful and clearly comprehending the Bodhisattvas, departed from the Dusika heaven and descended into his mother's womb. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva passed from the Dusika heaven and descended into his mother's womb, an immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of the gods appeared to the worlds with his gods, martyrs, and Brahmas. With his peoples, renunciants, the Brahmins, kings, and the masses, and even in those awful open world intervals of gloom and utter darkness, where the sun and the moon, mighty and powerful as they are, cannot make their light prevail. There, too, an immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of the gods appeared, and the beings reborn there perceived each other by light. Friend, so indeed, there's also other beings reborn. Here in the 10,000-fold world system shook, quaked, and trembled. An immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of gods appeared in the world. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, 4 young gods came to guard him at the 4 corners, so that no humans or non-humans or anyone at all could harm the Bodhisattva. Or his mother. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva descended into his mother's womb, the mother of the Bodhisattva was inherently virtuous, refraining from killing living beings, refraining from not taking what was given, refraining from sexual misconduct, refraining from false speech, and refraining from wines, liquors, intoxicants, the basis of negligence. Venerable Sir, This too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, on the 17th day after the birth of the Bodhisattva's mother passed away and was reborn in the Tusika heaven. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Another other young woman gave birth after carrying the child in the womb for 9 or 10 lunar months. But not so the Bodhisattva's mother. The Bodhisattva's mother gave birth to him after carrying him in her womb for exactly 10 months. Venerable Sir, this too I consider as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, other young women gave birth seated or lying down, but not the Bodhisattva's mother. The Bodhisattva's mother gave birth to him standing up. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, gods received him first, then human beings. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, he did not touch the earth. The 4 young gods received him, set him before his mother, saying, O Queen, rejoice. O Son of great power has been born to you. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as wonderful, marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, he did so dirt-free, unsmeared by water, humors, blood, or any other impurity, clean and dirt-free. Ananda, suppose there were a gem jewel placed on a kasi cloth, then the gem would not smear the cloth or the cloth the gem. Why is that? It is because of the purity of both. Ananda, so too when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, he did so dirt-free, unsmeared by water, humors, blood, or any kind of impurity, clean and dirt-free. Venerable Sir, this too I considered as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, when the Bodhisattva came forth from his mother's womb, 2 jets of water appeared to pour from the sky, one cool and one warm. For bathing the Bodhisattva and his mother, Venerable Sir, this too I considered as wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, as soon as the Bodhisattva was born, he stood firmly with his feet on the ground. Then he took 7 steps facing north with the white parasol held over him. He looked at every quarter and uttered the words establishing his leadership. I am the highest in the world. I am the best in the world. I am the foremost in the world. This is my last birth. Now no more renewed existence. Venerable Sir, this too, consider it as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. When the Bodhisattva came forth his mother's womb, an immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of the gods appeared in the world, with his gods, Maras, and Brahmas, with his peoples, renunciants, Brahmins, kings, and the masses. Even in those awful open world intervals of gloom and utter darkness, where the sun and the moon, mighty and powerful as they are, cannot make their light prevail. There too an immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of the gods appeared. The beings reborn there perceived each other by that light. Friend, so indeed, there are also other beings reborn here. This 10,000-fold world system shook, quaked, and trembled, and the immeasurable glorious light surpassing the divine majesty of the gods appeared in the world. Venerable Sir, this too I consider it as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Ananda, that being so, you should consider that too as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Tathagata. Ananda, here for the Tathagata, feeling are known as they arise, and as they are present, as they disappear. Thoughts are known as they arise, as they are present and as they disappear. Ananda, you should consider this too as a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Tathagata. Venerable Sir, since this so, I consider this too was a wonderful and marvelous quality of the Blessed One. Prediction on his future greatness. This passage tells of how gods informed the sage of the birth of the Buddha, and how he eagerly went to see him and predicted his future attaining awakening. The seer Asita saw King Sakka. Now, Sakka was the king of the gods. He is called the ruler of the 33, the realms of sensual desire. In the Vedic religion, he is known as Indra. So Indra and Sakka are the same. A forceful and sometimes intoxicating god. But in Buddhism, he is transformed into a virtuous heavenly king called Sakka, able or capable, understood to be a follower of the Buddha. Interestingly, he married Sucha from the opposing demigods. So the seer Asita saw King Sakka and the host of the 33 gods. This is who were joyful and happy and in their clean garments, praising exceedingly, having held up a cloth. Seeing the gods were pleased in mind and cheerful, having paid his respects. He said this there. Why is the community of gods extremely happy? What do they celebrate, holding up cloth? Even when there was a battle with the demigods, the victory went to the gods, and the demigods were defeated. Even then, there was such excitement. Haven't seen what marvels are the Maruts. The Maruts were the gods of storm. Marut Nantan. Namo Nama. The Maruts were gods of the storm gods. They were elated. The gods shout, sing, play music. They slap their arms and dance. I ask you, the inhabitants of Muru's chest, Muru's crest. Mount Muru or Sumuru, actually Sumuru, is the tallest mountain in Indian mythology. It's the tallest mountain, right? Sir, please dispel my doubt quickly. Lord Puttaong, excellent jewel, incomparable, has been born in the village of the Sakyan clans in Lumbini country, in the human world for our benefit and happiness. So we are jubilant, exceedingly praise. He's the blessed of all beings, the topmost person, the human bull, the greatest amongst all people, roaring like the mighty lion, overlord of animals. He was the cause of the jewel of the eternal law of Dharma, as Dharmo Santano, to turn the groove named after the seers. This refers to the Isatapana in grove in Varanasi, India. This is where the Buddha's first discourse was taking place. Having heard the utterance, he descended hastily, arrived to the dwelling of Sutotana. Sutotana is the ruler of Kapilavatthu, is the father of the Bodhisattva. Having sat down there, the seer said to the Sakyans, where is the young boy? I too wish to see him. For reference, the Sakyan clans were a class of warriors. Now, there were 4 classes: the Brahmins, the warriors, the merchants, and then the lower class, which is the funeral pyres and so forth. So the Sakyan, I too wish to see him. He said, where's the young boy? The Sakyan then showed the child, the young boy, who was resplendent with glory, perfect in complexion, like burning gold, blemished by an incredibly skillful smith in the very mouth of the furnace, is to the one called Asita, that's the seer. Seeing the young boy blazing like fire, purified like the Lord of stars, going in the sky, like the glittering sun, released from clouds in autumn, he, being joyful, experienced abundant rapture, piti, rapture, joy. The Maruts held in the sky an umbrella with many ribs and 1,000 circles. Yak tail fans and golden handles fluttered up and down, but the holders of the umbrellas and the fans were not seen. The seer called Kansa Siri, or Asita, as one with matted locks, having seen the young boy like a golden ornament on a pale red blanket, the white umbrella being held above his head, was glad in mind, cheerful, received him. Having received the Sakyan Bo, examining him, he, and an expert in marks and mantras, raised his voice with confidence. This one, incomparable, is supreme among the two-legged humans. Then, rejoicing on his own departure, being dejected, he shed tears. Seeing the seer wailing, the Sakyan said, surely there will be any danger to the young boy? Seeing the Sakyan unhappy, the seer said, I do not see any harm destined for the young boy, nor will there be any danger for him. This is not inferior, being, be pleased. This boy will reach the peak of awakening, seeing what is supremely purified, having sympathy for the benefit of great majority. He will turn the will of the eternal law of Dharma, which means he will set in motion the influence of his teaching. So he will turn the eternal will of Dharma, his holy life, the life of celibacy, focused on the study and practice of the eternal law of Dharma, will be widely known. Little by my life here remains, then there will be death for me. I shall not hear the Dharma of the Peerless One. So I am afflicted, overwhelmed by disaster, miserable. Imagine that. The seer saw, or another word for us to see is, he had a premonition in the future of this young boy that was born to a warrior class, the Sakyan clan. He was, whatever he saw brought him to such rapture and joy that he started crying, tearing up with emotion. The family of the Sakyan clan asked, why are you crying? If there should be any concern for this, he said, no. Everything is splendid for this young boy. He has a bright future. He's going to go ahead and set an example and start the will of the eternal law. It's Dharma Santano. And why I'm crying is because soon my life will end, and I'm not going to have the opportunity to experience or see this play out. That's amazing that he saw that. Imagine that, having that, seeing that premonition and doing this. Remember, back those times, they were versed in the Vedas, the Upanishads, and so forth, and astrology, mathematics to a certain level that our modern times are not adapt to without having like a crutch like AI or so forth, but they were actually teaching everything. It was a verbal tradition before they even written it down, having written it down on bion paper or palm paper leaves. The parents of the Buddha, the Gautama. Here, an awakened monk names the Buddha's parents with the Buddha's fathers as, in a certain sense, the monk's grandfather. A hero of great wisdom, Panya, indeed cleanses 7 generations. 7 generations. In whatever family he is born. I think Sakya Suto Tana, you are the king of the gods, for you begot the sage who is truly named. The father of the great seer is called Suto Tana. The mother of the awakened was called Maya. Interesting. Maya, illusion. So we got the masculine and the feminine potency. Who, having cherished the taha kata, put the ong, with her own wombs, after the breaking of the body, rejoices in 3 heavens. She, Gotami, Maya. Her surname is Gotami, but is also representation of Maya. Having died, having descended from here, being possessed of divine pleasures, rejoices in 5 strands of sensual pleasures, surrounded by the group of gods. 5 strands of sensual pleasures. I am the son, the disciple of the Buddha, who endures what is beyond endurance, the son of the incomparable, venerable, Girasa. Girasa is the son of the Shining One. It's a member of the Girasa tribe. You, Sakya, Sotana, are my father's father, the grandfather. Truly, you are my grandfather, Gautama. Gautama's family. This passage refers to the Buddha's son, who later ordained as a monk under him and attained arihatship. So there's 4 stages of attainment. But arihatship is the last stage. You would never be reborn again. The Buddha's father remained a lay person and attained the stream inti, Sotapanna, allows him to be reborn 7 more times. The first level of spiritual nobility. His stepmother became Mahaprapati, became the first nun, and an Arihanta. His wife also seemed to have also became a nun, and an Arihanta. They know me as Lucky Rahura. Lucky for 2 reasons. One, that I am the son of the awakened one, and the other, that I am one with visions of truth. We'll get this into that later about Rahula, but it's interesting. Lavish young life of Gautama. This passage describes the early life of a great comfort, but then moves to reflections on aging, sickness, death, and coming to us all. Monks, I have lived a refined, utmost refinement and totally refinement in my father's home. There was lotus pond just made for me, one where red lotuses bloomed, one where white lotuses bloomed, and one where blue lotuses bloomed, for all for my sake. I used no sandalwood that was not from Kasi. Kasi was at state whose capital, oh, Varanasi. Kasi was the capital of Varanasi in India. My turban was from Kasi, as were my tunic. My lower garment and my outer cloak, a white umbrella, was held over me day and night to protect me from cold, heat, dust, dirt, and dew. Monks, I had 3 mansions, one for the cold season, one for the hot season, and one for the rainy season. During the 4 months of the rainy season, being entertained in the mansion for the rainy season by musicians without one man among them. I did not once come down from that mansion, whereas the servants, workers, and retainers in other homes are fed meals of broken rice and lentil soup. In my father's home, the servants, workers, and retainers were fed wheat, rice, and meat. Monks, endowed with such affluence, living in such refinement, I considered when an untaught ordinary person, himself subject to aging, not beyond aging, sees another who is aged, he is horrified, humiliated, and disgusted, obviously to himself, that he too is subject to aging, not beyond aging. If I am subject to aging, not beyond aging, were to be horrified, humiliated, and disgusted on seeing another person who is aged, that would not be befitting for me. As I pondered thus, the young person intoxication with youth entirely dropped away. The same then said, replacing aging with illness and then death, such that the healthy person's intoxication with wealth entirely dropped away. The living person intoxication with life entirely dropped away. Pleasures of the senses. In this passage, the Buddha reflects on the pleasures of his youth and then the limitations and dangers of such pleasures. Mahagani Dia was also a hedonist who advocated for enjoyment of sensual pleasures. The Buddha here is teaching him the evil consequences of pursuing pleasure. Mahagandhiya, formerly when I lived the home life, I enjoyed myself, provided and endowed with the 5 strands of sensual pleasures. It is said that a man derives these pleasures from a woman, similarly a woman from a man. So it seems sensual pleasures, kama, primarily means sexual pleasure. So sensual pleasure forms discernible by the eye that are wished for, desired, agreeable, dislikable, connected with sensual desires and provocation of lusts, provocation of sounds, provocation discernible by ear, odors discernible by the nose, flavors discernible by the tongue, tangible discernible by the body, that are wished for, desired, agreeable, likable, connected with sensual desires, and provocative of lust. On the latter occasion, having understood as they really are the origin, the disappearance, and gratification, the danger of sensual pleasures, and the escape from them, I abandon craving for sensual pleasures. I remove fever for sensual pleasures. I abide without thirst, with mind inwardly at peace. I see other beings who are not free from lust, from sensual pleasures, being devoured by craving for sensual pleasures, burning with fever for sensual pleasures, indulging in sensual pleasures. I do not envy them, nor do I delight therein. Why is that? There is a meditative delight apart from sensual pleasure, apart from the unwholesome states which surpasses even the divine pleasures, since I take delight in that. I do not envy what is inferior, nor do I delight therein. Suppose there was a leper with sores and blister on his limbs, being devoured by worms, scratching the scabs off the opening of the wounds with his nails, cauterizing his body over a burning charcoal pit. Then his friends and companions, his kinsmen and relatives would bring a physician to treat him. The physician would make medicine for him, and by means of that medicine, the man would be cured by leprosy and would become well and happy, independent, master of himself, able to go where he likes. Then he might see another leper with sores and blisters on his limbs, being devoured by worms, scratching the scabs off the open of his wounds with his nails, cauterizing his body over burning charcoal pit. What do you think? Would that man envy the leper for his cauterization the body over a burning charcoal pit, or for his use of medicine? No, Venerable Gautama. Why is that? Venerable Gautama, because when there is sickness, there's need for medicine. When there is no sickness, there's no need for medicine. Similarity, when I lived the home life before, I enjoyed myself provided and endowed with the 5 strands of sensual pleasures. On the latter occasion, having understood as they really are the origins, the disappearance, and the gratification, the dangers of sensual pleasures, and the escape from them, I abandoned craving of sensual pleasures, the escape from them. I abandoned craving from sensual pleasures. I remove fever for sensual pleasures, and now I abide without thirst, with mind inwardly at peace. Now I see other beings who are not free from lust for sensual pleasures, beings devoured by craving for sensual pleasures, burning with fever for sensual pleasures, indulging in sensual pleasures. But I do not envy them, for I delight therein. Why is that? There is delight apart from sensual pleasures, apart from unwholesome states, which surpasses even divine pleasures. Since I take delight in that, I do not envy what is inferior, nor do I delight therein. I leave you that for today. Ko anumotana. Sukita hotu.